Heinrich Himmler was one of the most evil and notorious figures of the 20th century. He was the head of the Nazi SS and a key figure in organizing the mass murder of Jews during the Holocaust. Himmler's actions were so extreme that his name has become synonymous with cruelty and genocide. In this blog post, we will explore the life and actions of Heinrich Himmler and why he is considered to be one of history's most evil men. Heinrich Himmler's early life. Heinrich Luitpold Himmler was born in Munich, Germany, in October of 1900. His family was conservative and politically minded, as his father had served as a member of the Bavarian Reichstag. During his childhood, Himmler was often introverted and withdrawn. He attended military school, and during this time became intensely nationalistic and anti-Semitic. Himmler had dreams of becoming a soldier, but he was deemed unfit for service due to poor eyesight. Himmler attended college and studied agronomy and poultry farming, and graduated in 1924. In 1925, he married Margareta Boden and the couple had 2 children together. It was during this time that he first joined the Nazi Party. He would go on to serve in various capacities throughout the Third Reich, including head of the SS, one of the most notorious organizations of the Nazi regime. Himmler joins the Nazi Party. Heinrich Himmler joined the Nazi Party in 1923 and rose quickly in its ranks, becoming one of its most important figures. He was appointed head of the Schutzstaffel, SS, in 1929, a paramilitary organization dedicated to protecting the party and its interests. Under Himmler's command, the SS became one of the most powerful and feared organizations in Nazi Germany, responsible for overseeing the Gestapo and other security services. As the Nazi Party rose to power, Himmler became increasingly influential and involved in state affairs. He was responsible for setting up concentration camps, establishing a system of secret police and enforcing Nazi ideology throughout German-occupied Europe. He was also instrumental in enacting laws that persecuted Jews and other undesirables. Himmler also played an important role in developing the propaganda machine used by the Nazi Party to propagate its message of racial supremacy. He was responsible for organizing rallies, issuing pamphlets, and maintaining control over the media. Himmler was particularly adept at manipulating the public through his use of rhetoric and false promises. By 1945, he had become one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. Himmler becomes head of the SS. Heinrich Himmler began his rise to power in 1929 when he was appointed head of the SS, Schutzstaffel, the Nazi paramilitary organization. Himmler was an ambitious man who wanted to gain control of the organization and turn it into a powerful force within the Nazi Party. He quickly made changes to the SS and increased its size from 280 members to over 50,000. He also established new military-style training camps and indoctrinated members with the Nazi ideology. Himmler was very successful in his role and was soon given more power and authority by Adolf Hitler. In 1934, Himmler was made the Reichsführer of the SS, giving him ultimate control over the organization. He took this opportunity to further expand the SS and increase its influence and power. He created specialized units such as the Gestapo and the Waffen-SS and also formed several concentration camps. Under his leadership, the SS became one of the most feared organizations of Nazi Germany. Himmler oversees the construction of concentration camps. In 1936, Heinrich Himmler was appointed to be the head of the Schutzstaffel, or SS. He was also placed in charge of all of the Nazi concentration camps. Himmler believed that it was necessary to build and maintain these camps to serve as places of incarceration for those deemed by the Nazi Party to be a threat to their ideals. The construction of these concentration camps began in earnest shortly after Himmler assumed power in 1936. He set about the task of constructing more than 40 camps across Germany and occupied territories. The majority of these camps were located in Poland, and soon these locations would become some of the most infamous sites in history. Each camp was designed to be an efficient system of control and torture. They included barracks for prisoners, areas for interrogation and execution, as well as rooms where medical experiments could take place. Himmler also oversaw the construction of gas chambers and crematoria that were used to carry out mass executions. Himmler's role in overseeing the construction of these concentration camps is just one part of his heinous legacy. It is estimated that millions of people died in these camps due to starvation, exhaustion, sickness, and brutal treatment by their captors. The thought of what took place in these camps still sends chills down our spine today. Himmler orders the execution of millions of Jews. Heinrich Himmler was one of the most notorious figures of the Nazi regime, and his role in organizing and carrying out the Holocaust was especially heinous. As head of the SS and Gestapo, he was responsible for carrying out the orders from Adolf Hitler to carry out mass extermination of Jews and other undesirables. Himmler was directly responsible for the execution of millions of Jews during World War II. He personally approved and authorized the construction of Auschwitz and other concentration camps and gas chambers throughout Europe. He also ordered the creation of Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing squads that carried out mass executions of Jews in Eastern Europe. Under Himmler's leadership, SS officers were given broad powers to arrest and detain Jews, Gypsies, Poles, homosexuals, and other enemies of the state. Many Jews were subjected to brutal interrogations and torture before being transported to the concentration camps where they were forced into slave labor or sent to the gas chambers. Himmler's orders resulted in the deaths of millions of Jews and other victims of the Nazi regime. The atrocities committed by Himmler and his henchmen are some of the darkest moments in human history and stand as a reminder of the horror of genocide. Himmler attempts to negotiate a peace treaty with the Allies. In April 1945, as the Allied forces were advancing toward Berlin, Heinrich Himmler attempted to open negotiations with them. Himmler contacted Swedish diplomat Count Folke Bernadotte with an offer of surrender, in exchange for a peace treaty that would allow the Nazis to keep some of their conquered territories. Himmler's plan was to arrange a separate peace between the Allies and Germany, leaving the Soviet Union out of the equation. He hoped this would preserve Germany's power and influence in Europe. The Allies, however, refused to enter into negotiations and ordered that Himmler be arrested and brought to justice. Himmler's attempt to negotiate a peace treaty with the Allies was his last-ditch effort to save himself and his regime. The Allies rejected his proposal, viewing it as an attempt to prolong the war and protect Nazi war criminals from prosecution. Himmler's actions also served to further discredit the Nazi Party and its ideology. He's captured by the British. In 1945, as the Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Heinrich Himmler fled in an attempt to avoid capture. He managed to escape Berlin and make his way north, trying to reach the relative safety of Denmark. On May 23, 1945, Himmler was stopped by British soldiers at a checkpoint in Lüneburg Heath. He was arrested and taken into custody by the British. At first, Himmler refused to reveal his true identity and instead presented himself as a regular German soldier. When his identity was eventually discovered, he was moved to a prisoner of war camp in Lübeck. However, it wasn't long before Himmler began making attempts to negotiate with the Allies, offering to provide information on the Nazi Party and its operations. His offers were rejected and he was moved to a different camp where he was placed under interrogation by the British. Throughout his time in captivity, Himmler attempted to negotiate a peace deal with the Allies. However, all of his offers were rejected as the Allies refused to make any deals with someone so closely associated with the atrocities of Nazi Germany. Eventually, Himmler lost all hope of a peaceful resolution and committed suicide on May 23, 1945. Himmler commits suicide. On May 23, 1945, Heinrich Himmler was apprehended by the British in northern Germany. He was held in captivity and, on May 28, he committed suicide by biting a cyanide capsule that he had kept hidden in his mouth. The British Army doctor who examined Himmler's body reported that he had died from cyanide poisoning. Himmler's death was a fitting end for one of history's most evil men. He was responsible for the deaths of millions of people, and he was ultimately unable to escape justice for his crimes. His suicide was a desperate attempt to avoid having to face trial and certain execution at the hands of his captors. Himmler's legacy will remain as a warning of what can happen when evil is allowed to flourish unchecked. He serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked power and the importance of ensuring that individuals in positions of authority do not abuse their power.